Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, or if you're new then hello, thank you for tuning in. As you can tell from the description, this is going to be a chat video. I've been absent for about a month. I think that was how long ago my last upload was, and in that month my anxiety has been really bad. Now, to begin with, I wasn't sure if it was anxiety. I didn't know that it was the anxiety. Basically, I suffer with IBS and anxiety, and the two can have very similar symptoms. For me, they do anyway. My IBS is very much tummy orientated. I get cramps, I get stomach aches, feel sick a lot, have a loose bottom. Too much information, I'm sorry, but it affects that end as well. And that's my IBS. But also, when I have anxiety flare-ups, I also get the sickness and the loose behind again, and other sort of tummy problems. So I find that the two, sometimes I never know which one it is. So basically, I hope you've got a cup of tea. I've got a cup of tea, so I'm going to be drinking this as we go. Yeah, so let me just have a slurp. So I think we're just going to go back. Now, it's not going to be completely and utterly in-depth, because obviously we could be sat here for hours. I don't want to do that, and I don't want to bore you. But going back, I was bullied at school. Yeah, pretty badly bullied at school. And the thing I did that made it worse for myself was I let the bullies see that they were upsetting me. I thought that by crying and breaking down in tears, they would feel sorry for me and leave me alone. No, that didn't happen. That made the bullies worse. They could see that they were getting a reaction from me, and they did it even more. My parents did actually go into school to speak about the bullying, because I refused to go in. And all that done was the girls all got a slap on the wrist for doing it. Sorry, just in case you're wondering why I was getting bullied, the biggest thing for me was my glasses. That's what they picked up on first. Now, as a young child of 12, 13, I started wearing glasses. And we were quite a, I wouldn't say poor family. My family were on benefits. So we had the free school meals. And as a child, I used to get free glasses. And the first pair of glasses that I got were, I can only describe them as Deirdre Barlow glasses. Now, bless her, if you remember Deirdre Barlow from Coronation Street, she used to have really big glasses, and the lenses were so thick, they just reminded me of the bottom of pint glasses, basically. I used to get teased for my glasses. People could see that they were the free ones, so I used to get teased for not being able to afford proper glasses. So yeah, that's what started the teasing off, or that's what started the teasing. They used to pick on me for my glasses, and also my surname. My surname is Hobber. I used to get called Hubba Bubba. I'm trying to remember all the things they used to call me now. Hobnob. Random things. So anyway, I used to get picked on at school. Like I said, I broke down in tears thinking they would feel sorry for me, leave me alone. They didn't. Made it worse. So my parents got involved, went to the school. This was at secondary school, by the way. I was about 12. when it started. So my parents went in and obviously complained about it. I had to name the students that were doing it. They all got a slap on the wrist. A couple got expelled for a week, but then went back. That made it worse. I was then called snitch, teacher's pet, grass, all sorts. And it was things like they used to throw their school bags at me. If somebody was sat behind me at school, they would stick chewing gum in the back of my hair, pull my hair. I used to get kicked under the table, things like that, really. So it wasn't just verbal abuse, it was physical abuse as well. Okay, I wasn't getting punched or slapped or anything like that, but it was still, you know, booted under the table, hit with school bags, and all their friends would laugh and think it was hilarious, and because of that, I didn't have very many friends at school. You know, I had a couple of friends, but yeah, definitely wasn't popular. So school was a nightmare, and I remember leaving school one day and I was so eager to get home because I could hear them taunting me. There was a group of girls that were just a little bit behind me, and I could hear them saying things like, "We're going to get you." And so I went to run across the road because we had a little corner shop. And I thought, well, if I go in the shop, nobody's going to touch me, and hopefully they will carry on, and, you know, I can just bumble in there for a little while, wait for them to go on. So I ran across this road, didn't look where I was going. Car came around the corner, hit me. So I'm on the floor. I've been hit by a car. And one of the girls came over, stood over me, and she said, "It's all right, Donna, you'll be dead in a minute." And I was just like, oh my God. Looking back, I couldn't believe that somebody could say something like that after I had just been hit by a car. But I always remember that. It's always stuck in my head that she had said, "Don't worry, Donna, you'll be dead in a minute." So that was it for me. I never went back to school. I refused to go back to school. So I was home taught. So I had home tuition, only 9 hours a week. I failed all my exams because of that. And yeah, which is really bizarre because I never had any issues at primary school. I really enjoyed primary school. But for 2 years at secondary school, first year wasn't too bad, to be honest. It was year 8 and year 9. And yeah, so year 9, I started having home tuition through to year 10, moved, and yeah, carried on the home tuition. Like I said, took my school exams up at a school near where I moved to. Failed all my exams, knew I would. And yeah, so that was that sort of stage of it. And then when I moved, I made friends with 2 girls, really pretty girls. And whenever we went out, we were at the age, we were 16, 17. Boys were interesting, you know, we were interested in boys. And I'm not going to say I never had any interest from boys, because I did. You know, I had a few boyfriends, and, you know, but the majority of the attention always went to my best friend. She got a lot of the attention, and that really affected me. And then when I was 19, I met one of the local lads that live in the village where I moved to, who I'm actually with now, still together. But he had only just come out of, not long ago, come out of a relationship already. So we were like seeing each other, and I think it got too much for him. And because it was my first proper relationship, I'd had a couple other relationships, but they never lasted more than a few months. Whereas this chap, we were seeing each other for quite a long time before we made it official. He just wasn't ready because of the girlfriend he had before. He'd been with her for 2 years, and that was his longest ever relationship. So he was quite cut up about that one. And I sort of helped him through that. I was there for him. We got really close. And after about 6 months of just it not being official, we made it official. And a couple of months into the relationship, I think I got a little bit heavy and it was too much for him. And he was just like, you know, I'm really sorry. This is too much for me. You know, I think we should call it. And yeah, he broke it off basically. I was heartbroken. And it really hit me hard. And I think with everything I'd gone through before that, see, it might seem like nothing to some people, but the bullying definitely affected me. And the fact that I was not the prettiest girls, you know, as a mid-teenager, and I definitely didn't get the attention that my best friend got. I was very flat-chested, didn't have any boobs. I was very skinny. I was, back then, believe it or not, I was a size 8, maybe, you know, edging up to a 10, but I was very skinny. So I had no boobs, you know, nothing. And boobs are what, you know, the majority of boys, I say that because, you know, we were 16, 17, 18. That was the age that, you know, we used to go out all the time. And yeah, and when we were, you know, 17, 18 were the party stage. So we were out drinking and going to parties, and obviously you want to interact with boys and you want boys to find you attractive, but they all just seemed to find my friend attractive. And I just had, yeah, it just knocked my, I didn't have a lot of confidence anyway. God, I'm really dragging this out, aren't I? I wasn't planning on doing this, but I just wanted you to understand why I went on to antidepressants in the beginning. So anyway, so when my boyfriend ended it with me, it really, I took it quite bad. And I don't think I had any interest in killing myself. But for a cry for help, I remember emptying a box of paracetamols on the floor. And I took about 6 of them. And then he came into the bedroom, saw what I was doing with these tablets. And I don't think I really would have took many more of that anyway. I don't think I would have. I wasn't trying to kill myself. It was a cry for help. And it was a cry for him, you know, to say, look, this is how much you're hurting me. Not the right thing to do, I know, but it's just what I did at that time. He went downstairs, got my mum. My mum come upstairs because I was still living at home at this point. Yeah, I was 19. And yeah, she was just like, right, taking you straight to the doctors. So she took me down to the GP and said, you know, my daughter's tried to take an overdose, blah, 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 blah. I wasn't offered any counselling or anything, and I was literally put straight on these antidepressants straight away. First ones didn't help me really. They just made me really bad. The second lot, they put me on paroxetine or Seroxat. They've got 2 names. They worked. They helped. And I actually felt a lot more better. I didn't suffer with hardly any anxiety. My mood had definitely changed. And yeah, I went on them when I was 19. So that was the reason. Sorry. That was when I went on to antidepressants. And I stayed on them. I didn't want to come off them. I stayed on them. So from 19, I stayed on them all the way through. Obviously, I got back with my boyfriend. We literally stayed apart for about a month. And then we got back together again. And then So that was when I was 19. And then everything was fine through my 20s. Lovely through my 20, you know. And when I was 21, I realised I was pregnant. So we'd only actually been together about 18 months, maybe 2 years. And I found out I was pregnant with my first. Weren't planning at that time, but we were completely happy. We had no, we didn't have our own place at that point. I left home when I was 19. When I got back with Wes, I moved into a friend's house, stayed there for a while, and then from there moved into another friend's house. We actually got we rented a property together so we could both afford it. We split the rent and split everything halfway. And my partner used to stay, my boyfriend. And then while I was there, I found out I was pregnant. And we were like, right, we could do with our own place. We put our name down on the council list for a council property. And for a little while, we did actually have to move into my partner's parents. For a little while, things came up and I just couldn't stay. My friend that I was living with moved back to Portsmouth, which is where she came from originally. She went through quite a bad breakup and wanted to go back home, and I couldn't afford the rent on my own. So luckily, my partner's mum said that we could move in there for the time being. So we moved in there, and luckily we only had to stay there for a few months because a bungalow became available, and we moved into our own bungalow, and everything was lovely. Because of the antidepressants that I was taking, going through, so after I had my son, I wanted to breastfeed, and they said, no, you can't breastfeed because of the antidepressants that you've been taking. So, plus it was I had to have an emergency cesarean anyway. So his very first feed was a cup feed. Because he got stuck, he was such a big baby. He was 9.5 pounds. And he was such a big baby, I just couldn't get him out. And he got stuck and he was in distress. So they were like, right, emergency cesarean. And as soon as they got him out, because his sugar levels were so low, they wanted to get some milk into him ASAP. So they cup fed him. And then after that, I remember saying, you know, can I breastfeed? And they were like, no, we don't advise it because of the antidepressants you're on. We advise you stick with bottles. So that was that. I wasn't able to breastfeed him. But everything was fine with that. Go through years, la la. No issues. Still on my antidepressants. And then about 6 years later, we decided, right, we're ready for another one. And this one we are going to try for. I wanted to be able to breastfeed. So for that reason, I weaned myself off my antidepressants because I thought if I'm not taking any tablets, I can breastfeed. And so I came off my antidepressants. It took me a few months, but I weaned myself off them. Got pregnant. Pregnancy was fine. Going through labour. Quite a quick one. Only took about 3.5 hours, which was a hell of a lot quicker than the first one. But once she was born, now this sounds really awful, but once she was born, for some strange reason, well, I know why now, or I'm assuming this is why, I'm not on my antidepressants at this point, and postnatal depression hit me hard. I couldn't bond with her. I was too scared to hold her. And I always remember my partner, because my labour was quite quick, weren't expecting it. And after she was born and everything was done, he was just like, babe, I've got to go home, I've got to get the car seat, never brought it. And I remember thinking to myself, God, I didn't want to do this. I remember thinking, Jasmine was asleep in the cot, the crib beside me, and I was just praying and praying that she wouldn't wake up so I didn't have to pick her up. And that's awful. I feel really bad saying it, but I couldn't help it. That's how I felt. So I went straight back on my antidepressants. Oh, actually, no, tell a lie. I tried to breastfeed first, and I managed about 3 days, couldn't do it. And whether that was because I wasn't feeling the bond that I should have had, and I wasn't on my tablets, and I don't know. But as soon as I stopped trying to breastfeed, I went straight back on my antidepressants. And yeah. Sorry. So anyway, so I went back on my antidepressants. And even though I was on my antidepressants, I really struggled with postnatal depression, especially when my partner had to go back to work. That was really hard. My daughter was very colicky. So she did a lot of screaming, and it was more so in the evenings. Typically she'd be fine by day, and then come the evening and he would have to go to work because he was a chef, so he would go to work at like 4:30, 5 o'clock. And at that time I was really lucky. I had a friend who had a baby not long after me, and she used to come down in the evenings and bring her baby, and the two babies would sit together, and she was a godsend. I wouldn't have been able to have got through it if it wasn't for her. And for some reason, her voice really seemed to settle my daughter. So that helped. So postnatal depression was hard, really hard. But then I got through that. And don't get me wrong, I love my daughter to pieces. She's my youngest. She's always going to be my baby, even though she's nearly 13. So anyway, so on the antidepressants, and then not really an issue, really, for the first few years. Now, I would say about 5 years ago, maybe, my anxiety started again, even though I was on the tablets. So I'm still on the tablets, still on the same dose, and I noticed that whenever I did something out of the ordinary, I would feel sick. I would have the problem at the other end. Just feeling horrible. And it was whenever I did anything out of the ordinary. I remember going to see Olly Murs about 5 years ago, and I was so looking forward to it. The day that it came, I felt sick as a pig, and I was just like, I don't think I can go. And it was with my friend, and she was like, oh, hang on 1 minute. Hello?
I'm going down the shop.
Okay.
Can the dogs come out?
If you want them to come out, just make sure they're downstairs. Okay? That's my daughter.
Subscribe to our channel.
Love you.
You too.
See, how could I have had postnatal depression after having that? I love her so much. Anyway, so anyway, going back to Olly Murs, I really felt rough. But once I got there, I had an amazing time. It was brilliant. And I was fine after that. And then again, next, a little holiday away, camping holiday. Really looking forward to it. The day it came, felt sick as a pig. Really didn't want to go. But as soon as I got there, everything's fine. It was just the build up to it, or it was just the day of it. And I carried on for a few years like that, just sort of muddling through it and, you know, just coping with it. And then it got really bad about 18 months ago. Oh no, yeah, is it that long ago? The worst one was Butlins. I went to Butlins at the very beginning of the summer last year, and that was my first worst bad one. It was me, my friend, and our two daughters, because they're best friends. And all the way there, I felt sick as a pig. horrible. The first night I was there, I threw up. And I just felt sick the whole time. And my friend was good as gold. And she was just like, well, because I spent a lot of time at the apartment at Butlins. We did all the inclusive. So we had a meal thing and everything. We paid all the extra for that. You know, it wasn't a cheap, you know, could have gone abroad. For what we spent to spend a week at Butlins, we could have gone abroad. But because we were in lockdown, so this is what we did last year. And I spent the majority of the time in the apartment on my own, crying because I felt so shit. My friend took my daughter out to do a lot of stuff just so she still enjoyed it. And we ended up coming home 2 days early because I felt so rough. We caught the train back. And I felt like I was ruining it for them because I was feeling so low, and I just felt like they couldn't enjoy them. I don't know. I just felt like I was ruining the holiday for them. I know I did. I did. So coming back from Butlins last year, the sicky feeling lasted ages. I didn't go to work. I was self-employed at that time, cleaning for people. I didn't go to work through the whole of the summer holidays. I didn't work. And I know some of them probably thought, oh, it's a summer holiday, she's blagging it, pulling a fast one. I hardly went out. I spent a couple of days on the beach, as in, like, not for all day on the beach, but I would go down there for an hour, have a look around. And since I've been feeling bad like this, and I've been having quite a bit of time off work, I've got into looking for shells and sea glass. So when I'm having really bad days and I just want to be on my own, I will go down for an hour and just have a look for glass and stuff like that on the beach. So anyway, I'm saying it's anxiety, but when we were at Butlins, we didn't know what it was. We didn't know if it was an IBS flare-up. We didn't know if it was my anxiety. They were giving me... I actually spoke to my GP while we were at Butlins, and they forwarded through for me to pick up some domperidone tablets, which are anti-sickness. They did nothing. The anti-sickness tablets did nothing for me. So as soon as I came back, I booked in to see my GP, and I told my GP about it. And because, to begin with, we thought it was IBS, he gave me IBS tablets. He gave me some other sort of IBS tablets, 2 lots of IBS tablets he gave me. And I was taking them on a regular basis. But I just could not shift this sicky feeling. It just wouldn't go away. Normally when I have these anxiety flare-ups, the day that something's happening, I feel bad. But as soon as I'm at that thing or that thing is over, I go back to normal. Normally an anxiety flare-up is literally up until whatever it is that's made me anxious is been and gone, and I feel all right again until the next time I do something out, you know. But this was just hanging over me for ages, weeks. Like I said, all through the summer holidays, just feeling sick all the time. So I had a lot of time over the summer off, not being able to work because I felt so rubbish. But when it would pass, I could actually go through a few weeks and feel all right. So that episode would pass. It would take like 4-6 weeks. It would pass. And then I'd feel all right for a while. And then suddenly, bang, it's there again. So that was Butlins. And then in November, very beginning of November, me and my partner should have had a weekend away, just us. And we cancelled it because, again, November, I was going through another sicky phase. So sadly, that weekend got cancelled. We didn't do that. Luckily, we paid insurance, so we got our money back. It wasn't a lot because it was a weekend, but... So we didn't do that. And then, what was the next thing we did? I'm sure there was another one that we've had to cancel as well. I don't know. And then, anyway, so this one... So about 5 weeks ago, So it was a little bit before that, actually, because I was getting it a little while at work. I started a new job in January, working in a nursing home. And I thought that would have been really hard because I'd built it up quite a lot, because I went through quite a while of not working. I gave up. See, when I was not able to work during the summer last year, some of the people that I used to clean for, because they needed somebody every week and I wasn't able to come and I didn't know when I was going to be able to go back, they found other cleaners. So I lost a few of my people through me being off sick, which is completely understandable. People want people that are reliable and can come every week. At that time, I was feeling so poorly, I didn't know when I was going to be able to go back. So when it did come to me looking at going back to work, when I was going through a well stage, I'd lost half of my people. And I was down to about 9 hours left a week. And I thought, I can't be self-employed for 9 hours. I can't afford to pay all my bills working 9 hours a week. I need to look for a new job. And bear in mind, my last proper job was about 5 years ago when I worked in the local shop. So my sister was like, she works in a nursing home, and she's like, we're crying out for staff. They will give you a job. So I went there and I got a job at the nursing home. Can I just say as well, I completely forgot something. About 12 years ago, I passed my driving test. Now, my driving test took me about 18 months before I was actually confident enough to take my test. I know I had to go on beta blockers to take my driving test because I was just in such a state. So they put me on special tablets to help calm me down. And I passed on my third time. And I had no confidence to drive. I even did the Pass Plus and drove to Plymouth and back. But because my instructor was there with me, I knew I was all right. But that didn't help my nerves. And then when I was actually driving on my own, I actually had my own little car to begin with, because I didn't want to drive our family car because I was scared of scratching it. So I just had a little cheap old car, a Ford Escort, and I drove around a bit. But my anxiety of driving, if I knew I had to drive the next day, I would go to bed feeling really sick, wake up feeling really sick. So when I actually drove anywhere, I couldn't relax while I was there because I'd be worried so much about the drive home. And that went on for quite a while. I tried to stick with my driving. But about 5 years ago, it got to the stage where I couldn't cope with it anymore. And I said to my partner, I'm hardly driving now anyway. I let my partner drive. When I got rid of my car, he drove everywhere. It was very rare that I drove. And then when I did drive, I was in a state. And I just said to him, do you know what? My life would be so much easier if I didn't have to drive. So about 5 years ago, I gave up my driving. Again, down to my anxiety. So I don't drive. So anyway, so now back up to now. So I started this new job in January. And I really enjoyed it. It took me about a week of feeling a bit sicky and a bit unsettled, but I was expecting that anyway. But everybody there is so lovely and the residents are so lovely. I actually got into it quite quickly. I did have a little bit of a breakdown at work about 3 weeks in. I think I did about 3 weeks. And it was just a really busy, really hectic day. And because I was still quite new to it and I didn't know everybody. I didn't know the people by their room numbers, if you know what I mean. In a nursing home, obviously all the residents have got their own rooms and they're numbered. So if you told me what room number to go to, fine. But if you said to me, go to so-and-so, I'll be like, what room number is that? And it was just one of these days that was just so busy and the bells were ringing all the time. And And I wasn't the quickest because I still didn't know exactly where people were. And I just found that I was making the day even harder. And because they're 12-hour shifts, by the time it got to like, start at 8 in the morning, by the time it got to like 6:30 in the evening, I just broke down and I just cried and I cried. And I'm just like, today's been really bad and it's all down to me. Because of me, I've made it even worse than because I don't know where everybody is, you know. I just felt like I was to blame. So I had a bit of a mental breakdown on that day. But apart from that, I think I've been alright at work, really. And then about 6 weeks ago, I was working and I started getting these like headaches I get the odd headache. I don't suffer with migraines, but I get the odd headache. But about 6 weeks ago, the last week that I was at work, I kept getting lightheaded and feeling dizzy and feeling sick. It's just like, it's got to the stage, I would probably say, even with me starting a new job, I was feeling sick more than I wasn't. So I would say 90% of my days, I was waking up feeling sick. And I'm never sick, it is only nausea. I am never sick, it's just nausea. But I found that for me, some days I could work through it and I just ignore it. I can eat, I can work, and even though the sicky feeling's there, because it's been such an ongoing thing and I've had it for such a long time, I've just got used to it. But then there's days when it's that bad, the slightest smell of something or the sight of something will just really make me... And even though I've never been sick, like I keep saying, it was just... And my patience, I had no patience because I was feeling so poorly. You know, some of these people and some of these old folk can be so demanding, like really demanding. And I just wasn't having the patience. I was having to like walk out of the room and to say, right, I'll be back in a minute. I just need it, you know. And it was really affecting my work. And yeah, I remember the last day that I worked, luckily I was only on a half a day. I was only working till 2 and I spent the whole day just going around holding my belly because I was feeling so sick. And the staff kept going, "You're right, Donnie, you're not looking very well." And I was like, no, I'm feeling really sick. But because it's just an anxiety thing and it's not a sicky bug, I'm not contagious, I can't give it to anybody. I just didn't want to be there. So I did my shift. I went home at 2 o'clock, made an appointment with the doctors the next day because luckily I had a couple of days off next. So I made an appointment with the GP and I said, right, look, this is getting ridiculous. I've been feeling sick for ages now, like literally ages. I feel sick more than I don't feel sick. And it's really affecting my work now. I really think we need to try something else. I said, I've been taking all the tablets that you've been telling me to take, my IBS tablets. Anti-sickness tablets are not working. So she said, oh, we'll try these anti-sickness tablets. So I tried some different anti-sickness tablets. They weren't really working. So before I was due to go back to work, I went to see my GP one more time. And I went to see him and I said, right, I said, these anti-sickness tablets aren't working. I said, I've now been on a second lot. I said, I've only been taking them for 2-3 days. I said, but they're not making the sickiness feeling go away. And it was a different doctor. He was a gentleman. And he said to me, maybe it's not your IBS. He said, maybe it's all your anxiety because the symptoms are so linked. And I was just like, oh, yeah, maybe. Could be right. I said, because I'm taking all these IBS tablets, I'm taking these sickness tablets, and yet I'm still feeling really sick. So he said, right, he said, what we're going to do, he said, you've been on your antidepressants for over 20 years now. He said, we're going to swap your antidepressants over to another one. He said, the ones that you're on are mainly for depression. He said, let's try on some ones that are more so for anxiety. So I was just like, brilliant idea. I said, yeah, happy. He goes, bearing in mind, he said, you've been on yours for such a long time. He said, you need to wean yourself off them. He said you will feel a bit of, you'll most definitely get withdrawal symptoms because you've been on them for so long. He said, but also, he said, you'll probably get symptoms from taking your new antidepressants. So I was like, okay. And then I was thinking, oh my God, how's this going to affect me at work? What am I going to do at work? And I was just like, oh my God, you know. And he was just like, calm down. He said, I will sign you off for a month. He said, if you feel well enough before that month's over, he said, by all means, go back to work. He said, but I'll give you a month. He said, by that way, your new one should have kicked in. And hopefully, fingers crossed, if it is that, you should start feeling better. So I was like, okay. So I got hold of my work. They were really understanding. Bearing in mind, I have only been there 3 months. But I told her the situation. So I was off work for 3 weeks. So the first week, didn't feel any different. Second week, bearing in mind I was weaning myself off my old ones, alongside taking the new ones. My new ones, by the way, are citalopram, just in case you're interested. That's the new ones that I'm taking. So second week, didn't feel too bad at all. And I remember speaking to my sister and she said, hey, when do you think you're going to be back at work? And I said, do you know what? I said, I might be back next week. I said, I'm not feeling too bad at all. And, you know, 1 minute. Hello? I'm still talking. Out, because I'm talking about my anxiety, darling. I'm just doing a private video. Yeah, where was I at? Yeah, so the second week I didn't feel too bad. And I just thought, great, I'm not getting no withdrawal symptoms. And because I was feeling okay, I was like, right, that's enough weaning myself off my old ones, because I was taking one every other day and then taking one of the new ones every day. So after about 10 days, I stopped taking my old antidepressants. And then, so I was only on my new ones. Just coming into the third week, I started getting a lot of headaches. I started feeling really dizzy. Just like brain fog, just muddled. Like, not muddled, no, that's not the word. I'm not feeling muddled. Hazy. It's just like sometimes, you know, I'll go to get up and I'll be like, whoa, you know, sit back down again. And sweaty. I've been getting a lot of sweats. Because that was another thing, actually. God, I keep forgetting things. Last year, I actually was thinking I might have been going through the menopause. Early menopause. Because my mum went through it early, in her 40s, and I'm 41. So, I did actually have a load of tests, thinking it might have been me being premenopausal. Because that can affect your anxiety and your IBS as well. No. I'm not premenopausal. My test came back that, no, not going through the menopause. So it wasn't that. So anyway, so just coming into the third week, started feeling really poorly. Started feeling sick again, headaches, giddy, like hazy, sweating a lot. So I thought, right, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to go through all these paperwork for the tablets that I've been taking, which I should have done beforehand and I didn't. So I'm sat down going through it, and the withdrawal symptoms from the ones that I've been on such a long time was there's loads of symptoms, but some of the ones were headaches, nausea, sweaty, dizzy spells. So I was just like, okay, I'm going through withdrawal symptoms now. Because obviously I was taking them for the first 10 days, but just weaning myself off. And then the last 3 or 4 days of the second week, I wasn't taking any. So obviously coming into the third week, my body's now been hit with the fact that there's no more of my original antidepressants. I'm now going through withdrawal symptoms. So, and that is where I am pretty much now, because I'm in my third week right now. I spoke to my GP yesterday. I rang my GP and I said, right, sadly it wasn't the one that I've been speaking to because he's on annual leave, but I spoke to another one and I said to him, I said, told him the story. Obviously it's all in my notes anyway. He said, I can see you're on new antidepressants. He said, how are you getting on? And I said, to be honest with you, I said the first week I didn't feel no different. Second week I felt quite well. And I was quite surprised. I said, but obviously that's the week I stopped taking my original ones. I said, and then the end of last week and now this week, I'm feeling rubbish again. And he said, well, that'll probably be, he said, what are you feeling? So I told him, he said, yeah, that sounds like your withdrawal symptoms from your old ones. He said, to be honest with you, he said, you haven't given your new antidepressants long enough. He said they can take at least 6 weeks for them to get into your system before your body notices a change, or before you notice a change with your body. He says, you've not given them long enough. So I was just like, okay, well, I'm due to go back to work next week. And he said, well, he goes, I can sign you off for another month if you want. And I'm just thinking to myself, God, sick pay is such bad money. But I am not feeling ready to go back to work. I want to go back to work when I feel normal, so to speak, when I don't feel sick and I'm not got the headaches. So yeah, so that is where I am at this minute. So he signed me off for another 4 weeks. I've informed my work. I've told them. So at the minute, I wake up every morning and I feel sick. It is a nausea in the pit of my stomach. And that's there all the time. And then headaches are very intermittent. Sometimes I have to take tablets 2-3 times a day because of the headaches. Sometimes I only have to take them in the morning, and then by the afternoon it's worn off. But most days it's headaches. And just a feeling dizzy. So it's just like some days when I don't have any dizziness, they're the days that I do tend to go down on the beach if the tide is right, and I do my little looking for shells and sea glass, because that's something I can do, and I know I've got nobody nagging me going, oh mum, this is boring. You know, I just go down on my own and I just do it. And then when I, feel like I've had enough, I come home. And taking the dogs out for a walk, I'll take them out for little walks around. But I don't walk miles because I just can't face it. It's like I've got 2 try-ons to do. I haven't been going into town. Today is the first day I've been into town. That's why I'm doing a video now, because I'm like, right, I've got a little bit of makeup on. My daughter needed some new school uniform. And she had some money to spend. So I was just like, okay, bless her. She spent all last week. We've done nothing. She's just been playing with her friends. I have been down on the beach for a couple of times, but apart from that, I've done nothing with her. So I know she needed some school uniforms. So I've sort of, apart from doing the food shopping, I haven't been anywhere. So I was like, right, we'll go in today. We'll sort your school uniform out. And you can spend your bit of money that you've got. And I popped into Primark. Didn't spend a lot in Primark, to be honest. But I can't spend a lot of money because I'm not earning anything, I've got all my normal bills to pay on sick pay. So I don't know how that's going to go. But I bought a few bits. So I've got a small Primark haul to do. I'm not going to do it in this video because this one's just been going on, but I will upload it. And then I've also got still a Shein haul. I've got 2 Shein hauls to do. One like posh frock style going out wear, with a little bit of underwear. And then I've also got just a chilled Shein haul with some like accessories. So I've got 3 videos that need recording, but it's just because I've been feeling so rubbish, I just can't face all the changing and unchanging and changing and unchanging. So yeah, so this is where I am. Yeah, so that's my anxiety. Now another thing is, I always thought anxiety, or when I've spoke to people with anxiety, a lot of them suffer with panic attacks where it affects their breathing. I have got like that in really, really severe cases where I find my breathing gets a bit difficult. But normally it doesn't affect me like that. It doesn't affect my breathing on a day-to-day. It affects me feeling sick is my biggest symptom, and headaches And yeah, feeling sick, headaches, and just a little bit spaced out in the head, if that makes sense. And obviously being a bit loose at the back end. But yeah, which to some people probably sounds like nothing, but when you feel like it day after day after day, it gets, you just get really fed up, and you just sort of lose the will to want to do anything. And going to work is the last thing I want to do. Especially because I want to be, you're working around old people. That's their home. And I don't want to be feeling down and sluggish and moping when I'm working around them. They don't want to see that. They like it when I'm all my, bubbly, happy self in there having a laugh and a bit of a joke. That's what they like. And I'm just not feeling that at the minute. So I'm sorry if this video has been really depressing, which I'm pretty sure it probably has been. I'm really sorry. I just wanted people to know me, the real me. So hopefully taking these new tablets, hopefully they will help with the sickness and feeling rubbish. And hopefully I can go back to feeling normal. And that is when I want to do my other hauls, just so I'm more into it, if that makes sense. So yeah, so I am still here, and I've had a couple messages from people that have noticed my absence, asking where I am, and that means so much, that people are missing that I'm not there, or they've noticed that I've not been there. Yeah, really does mean the world. Really does. So that's lovely. And so hopefully, yeah, I'm on the right track to feeling more normal. So yeah, that's me. But like I say, I'm really sorry it was a bit of a boring video, a low video. I just wanted people to know, this is me, this is who I am, this is what I'm going through at this moment in time. A little bit about my past as well. I've never actually done one about my past, and I just want, so yeah. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there, because otherwise I'm just going to keep going. But yeah, because I haven't really got anything else to say. If anybody's feeling like this, then go and see someone. Honestly, it's like, I just want to say before I go, there's this taboo of taking antidepressants. There's a few people that I say to them, I'm taking antidepressants, and they're like, what can that little one tablet do? It's all in your head. And I'm like, but if that little one tablet makes me feel more normal and makes me feel like I can cope with day-to-day life, I'm going to take that one little tablet. And that's how I was for such a long time, because it was enough. It was helping me. But it's not anymore. So if these new tablets can get me back on track and get me feeling normal again, I'm in no rush to stop taking them. If that one tablet can make me feel normal. And it's actually amazing how many people are actually on antidepressants. It's crazy how many people take them. So yeah, if you're feeling like this, and please speak to somebody. Don't bottle it all up on your own, because there's no need to. I have spoke to a counsellor before, but I didn't feel like it really helped, because I always felt like at the beginning that you always had to have a reason to be anxious. And this is why at this moment in time, I always thought it was IBS, because I was just like, what have I got to be anxious about? And it's only when the doctor said to me, anxiety can affect you even if you've got nothing to be anxious about. He said it can flare up. He goes, you do not need a reason to be anxious. I always thought you did, because up until sort of 18 months ago, it's always been when I've done things out of the ordinary or something really different, and you know, that's when it affected me. But like I said, but as soon as that was over, it would go. Whereas, you know, the last sort of year or so, it just keeps flaring up on its own. There's not been anything that's made me think, oh my God, you know, what's triggered this? It just flares up. So for the doctor to say that there doesn't have to be an underlying reason for an anxiety flare up, it can just happen, it's making sense to me now. But yeah, please speak to somebody. Don't bottle it all up. No. Anyway, if you've got anything to say or you would like to add any comments, then please comment below, because I do read all my comments. I don't get a lot of comments, but the ones I get, I do read. And if I need to reply to them, I will. Sometimes I just do a little smiley face or a heart just to show that I've acknowledged it. But if I've got nothing to say to it, then that's why I just do a heart or a smiley face. But yeah, I love reading people's comments. So yeah, I'm always here if you want to talk. I know what you're going through. Right, that's it. We're almost an hour long. This is my longest ever video, I think. But if you've watched it to the end, thank you so much. Thank you. And hopefully, fingers crossed, I will see you very soon for some try-ons. Yay! Right, love you lots.